Welcome to the Spinwhiz Comics Show.
Whoa.
From Raleigh, North Carolina. Join us for exclusive interviews with the publishers bringing you the newest titles in indie comics, webcomics, movies, and more.
No way.
And now, here's your host, Jeff Palumbo.
I'm interviewing tonight the gentleman from Rocket Ink Studios, partners of ours. I'll get into a little bit right after I say how I met them, and then the fun will begin. So without further ado, bringing them in, and here we are, gentlemen, Rocket Ink Studios. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Thanks.
So just as a little bit of background, so we started talking and met at C2E2.
Right.
C2E2 in general was not awesome this year. It
wasn't their best.
That's right.
Their best showing.
It was not. But people were starting to freak out about COVID-19. They had a ton of vendors this year. From what I was told, they kind of got swallowed. Although there was an amazing beer garden in the middle that had delicious alcoholic beverages for adults. So I was okay with that. But we got to talking, we got hanging out, and then I think, Tony, it was like, 2 weeks later, you guys were on the site?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Give or take, and it was great. You know, they have amazing content. So I wanted to bring them on. You guys should read it. I'm going to drop just so you can, if you don't want to watch the actual podcast, you can actually go and hang out and read their content and just keep my loving voice in the background while you do. You're going to love it. We have 9 titles from Rocket Ink Studios right now. They have more coming. They have a podcast coming out. They have a trading card stack coming out. We have lots to talk about tonight, but let's first go around the horn, introduce yourself. How'd you kind of get into comics? How long you been doing it? Just the quick elevator pitch of why you're awesome is basically what it comes down to. Who wants to start? Should we go in alphabetical order?
Sure.
All right, Bill. It's all you, buddy.
All right. Comics have always been part of my life, I guess. More so through cartoons. You know, I was a little kid watching Super Friends and Spider-Man and his amazing friends and all that stuff. And then the circus brought me actual comic books. My sister, my little sister, went to the circus on a field trip and came home with a stack of comics. They gave them away for free back then, guys, to kids at the circus to drum up readership. And she took her Barbie and her My Little Pony or whatever else comic was in there, and then she handed me things like the Ghost Rider and the Punisher and Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, these books are awesome. And I was hooked ever since. Drove my bike up to the comic shop once a week. Got my books, and that was it. I was hooked ever since. Through media, through the comics, now through the movies. I mean, it's a good time to be a comics fan.
Yes, yeah. The resurgence that I'm feeling, especially in the indie world, I think could easily overtake some of the bigger guys, just because everybody's kind of getting sick of their bullshit. But we'll come to that in a minute. We got stuff to talk about. John, we met at C2E2 a little bit too, so please tell the world who you are.
John Marroquin, I'm out of Detroit, and I've been drawing comics probably only about 7-8 years now, but it's been a passion of mine since I was a kid. And I still go to the comic store every week. Well, not every week, but I get my pull every week. Get maybe go out once a month. But I went because my comic store finally opened back up, so I went just to show some love. Mm-hmm. And the first comic that I fell in love with, because my uncle bought it for me and drew a page out of it, which blew me away. That's when I started drawing comics, because I saw that a human being actually drew these things. I thought it was like these magical things. But I got it today, and it wasn't number one of the Eternals, but it was an Eternals comic book. And it didn't have a cover. Remember they used to sell them with no covers and 3 in a bag and stuff like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's what really turned me on to comics and made me start drawing them, and that was it. I've been hooked ever since.
Holy crap! All right, Tony, you're up.
I'm Tony Maiello. I live in Detroit by way of New York, which you'll pick up on the accent. I got into comics. I was real little. I had to be about 5 or 6 when I saw Stan Lee on a kid's morning show, and he was talking about how when I write the Hulk, I growl and I do this, and I just watching him and how animated he was got me all excited about comic books. And right then I had said to my mom, I want to make comic books when I grow up. And I went from drawing, in crayon, in coloring books to getting art supplies. And I remember my grandfather taking me into Manhattan so I could buy How to Make Comics the Marvel Way. And that was my first art lessons came out of that book. And I'm a self-taught artist. And, from working with that, my grandfather buying me Spider-Man comic books at the Greasy Spoon on the corner off their news rack. Those, that was my beginning. I started copying pictures out of the comic books and then making up my own stories, and it was all I ever wanted to do. So now I'm doing it, and it's pretty cool.
Hell yeah, you are. And how did you guys end up hooking up?
Well, it was late in a bar, and once you're that drunk,
they were the last two hanging out. Everybody found each other.
I'm also from the Detroit area, and I founded a group called Motor City Sketch, and it was kind of like a drink and draw type of thing.
Awesome.
So, creatives get together, have some drinks, do a lot of drawing, do a lot of jawing, really, just shooting the shit. And John came to that, and Tony came to that. I mean, I met Tony at a convention here and there, but he started coming to these meetups. And we just connected through that. I mean, Motor City Sketch. We don't really meet anymore, but there's a Facebook link if anyone wants to network in the Detroit area. But that's pretty much how we came together.
And where'd you pick up John? Was it at the same bar, different night?
John was coming to those meets before Tony was.
Oh wow! Okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah, the first one I went to was because of Matt Bush. I was following him on Facebook, and it was at that.
Were you around then, John or Tony?
I was there. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was going to those Motor City Sketches early on when they first started. As a matter of fact, I think we used to go to another sketch group.
You did.
Well, I did, and then that one kind of ended, and I think you had come to that one a couple of times.
And it was just me, you, and Fosgit.
It was too far away for you.
Yeah.
But that's when. So sometime after that, you started Motor City Sketch, and we had already known each other when you had started Motor City Sketch. So
yeah. But we bonded.
Yeah, we bond. That's where our friendship, kind of solidified.
And did you start? So did you get together and just be like, listen, I've got comics, you've got comics, let's put them all under one publishing house and go from there?
Yeah, I mean, we're all artists, and when you don't have the publishers beating down on your door and stuff like that, or you're in between gigs, you kind of want to work on stuff. And we decided, hey, let's figure out projects to work on together and publish it ourselves.
Oh, I mean, that works.
I think we were lucky because now you can publish your own comic books,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
we all were publishing our own books. And actually, Tony and Bill started Rocket Ink a few years ago. And but I've known them a long time, but I've always self-published. And then I just joined, officially last year. I had projects, they had projects. It just made sense for all of us to combine our projects and then search out new ones and publish a lot of friends that we have. So
yeah.
Okay. So what was the first comic that you guys put out as Rocket Ink Studios?
It wasn't a comic per se. It's a book and it's called Portraits of Poe.
Okay.
So we did a collection of some of Edgar Allan Poe's works, put in some spot illustrations, and then we got our pals in the industry to do a little pinup or a portrait of Edgar Allan Poe, and that went into the book too. So you were able to read the original master of macabre, influenced so much in pop culture today, but then see a modern twist or a modern take visually.
That's awesome. And then, so that was what, 6-7 years ago?
Yeah.
Is it that long ago?
Gosh. Yeah, I think we did that in 2012, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We're getting
We've
old.
been riding that coattail too long. No, that was a good book for us.
It's still very popular.
To this day, it does really well.
Did you have that at C2E2, Tony?
Yeah, I did.
That's what I thought.
I think we sold out at C2E2. We didn't bring many with us because we were like, oh well, this book's older. Everybody's got to have it already, and whatever we had, we sold out of.
We even did a trading card set for that. It was a small trading card set. It was like a single pack got you everything. It was 8 base cards and then 1 sketch card. And I think we did like a limited run of 150 packs, and it sold out like instantly.
That's amazing. You got to love when that happens, when stuff just pops off your table and you're like, well, shit. I guess we should have brought more, but
it's a happy problem.
Yeah, that doesn't always happen either, unfortunately.
No.
I've done enough shows where, not necessarily in comics, but in all sorts of other promotional stuff over the years, and those days that nothing's happening, you're just like, oh, God, I got a ton of inventory, and it's costing me X, Y, Z, and
I think we debuted the book at Indiana Comic-Con.
That's right.
Friday.
The first one, the very first.
From mid-Saturday, we were completely sold out of the book.
Oh, my gosh.
Our inventory was gone.
So let's talk about that for a second, because you guys are really the first group that acts individually as creators and then brings them underneath one umbrella. At least that we work with. And I think a lot of people that we've interviewed already, and a lot of the partners and content creators we have, are either individual and they go on their own, or they are the writer and they have a team, or they're the head of the publishing studio and they hire people. You guys are the first conglomerate, I guess I could say, of creators that are working on your own things, but then obviously help each other as well. How have you seen comics change since you got together compared to now? Both, and maybe that's not necessarily around conferences, it can be, but conferences as well as just the fact that maybe the landscape has changed. So I'm not going to really paint a picture for you. I'm going to let you tell me, but how have you seen it change in those last 7-8 years?
I think something that has happened a lot recently is with the advent of the ease of self-publishing, there's a lot more people who are kind of taking the reins of the horse by themselves and going out and doing their own thing. And which, I mean, it's good and it's bad. It's good because, more people are taking, if this is their dream, they're taking control of what they want, and they're going out and they're making it. It's a little, it's not really bad, but it makes it harder to sell at a Comic-Con when you have 400 comic creators like at C2E2 all pushing an independent title. Mm-hmm. You gotta really know how to pitch your book properly in order for someone to say, okay, well, why should I buy your book over the guy next to you's book? Mm-hmm. Because, most people now, the only things they know are the comics and the movie. They don't realize that there's this whole world of independent comics out there. So they really have no frame of reference, and they don't know what to be looking for. All they know is superheroes.
Yep.
A lot of independent books aren't superheroes. So it's a much harder field to break through.
Well, Jeff, you were saying it yourself. the big companies, Marvel, DC, and whoever, you know, they might not be the average person's cup of tea anymore. You know, one of our sort of tagline is bringing the underground to the foreground. So our books, along with the people we choose to work with, I think we're being really careful in curating our stable of books. We're not exactly printing or publishing Joe Schmo or just anyone that can produce a book. We're reading the books. We're sampling the work. A lot of these people we know and trust. We're willing to invest in certain people, certain projects, and we're just offering something to someone that's different. Or
at the end of the day, we're financially responsible for these books. You know, we are going to be putting a lot of money into printing of these books, and we have a responsibility to get these books out to as many people as possible. You know, responsibility to the creators. So, you know, we have to hit the pavement doing conventions. We have to get it into as many distribution channels as possible. So we have to believe in the project in order to back it with our time, with our money, and with our effort.
Right. I think we're putting together a good stable of books that I'm proud to stand behind, for sure.
Yeah,
and like Tony said, distribution and getting it out and hitting the pavement. We kind of hit a speed bump this year with what, you know, the fact of the way the world is, and that led to our relationship with Spinwhiz.
Yep.
Looking for alternatives.
And thankfully so. I mean, obviously we got hooked up before the coronavirus kind of came about, but I'm super glad. Obviously I don't want the virus to be a good thing, but I'm the silver part of the silver lining is that people are starting to reach out looking for different things, looking for different methods, and we are here and growing, and you guys were part of that, and I think that's awesome. So, I mean, I try to take silver lining out of all the bad, and you guys are part of that silver lining for me. So
awesome. That's awesome. That's cool to hear.
Yeah, and it's amazing content too, and you know, you can tell. Let me step back. I get pitched content constantly. We aren't at a point yet where we can financially put together and be a publishing house also. It is financially impossible right now. However, I get pitched stuff constantly. Like, hey, Jeff, you're doing this. Do you want to, you know, what do you think about, you know, paying for it? And there's some really great content out there, but then there's some really shitty content out there. Yeah. But I would say that there is a lot of really good ideation that could turn into fantastic work if given the right art. Like, I see somebody just the other day gave me pencils and inks, and I'm like, these are amazing. He's like, oh, these are my color pages. I'm like, these suck. Like, and I didn't tell them that, but it was true that the story was decent. The pencils and inks, had they kept it like that, would have been amazing. But they added color, and you could tell that the colorist was not up to par of the pencil and inker. Right. And do you see that, or do you not even get involved with something like that, or do you try to step in and say, I can close this gap for you, whether it be you as an artist, or, you know, I know a guy that can do this, or are you more like, it has to be finished product, we have to see it, we're putting money behind print? How does that whole thing work for you guys?
I'd say 9 times out of 10, it has to be a finished product. You know, we usually allow, like, we even work with other studios. Like, for instance, we work with a studio called The Three Wise Men, and they put out a book called Motor City Mo. They hire their own artists, their own colorists. I don't know how much of it is done in-house, how much is hired out, but, you know, it's their decision. We look at that book, you know, we looked at issue 1 and we looked at issue 2, and I'm like, these are great books. The story's good. The art is good. It looks professionally done. This is something we can work with. Now, if we were to get something similar to what you were just talking about, something that the story is amazing, the art is really good, but something needs to be tweaked here and there, then I think we would work with them on something if it was something that we really wanted to work with. But not like, again, 9 times out of 10, we're looking for finished product.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's the way the landscape now is. And it's not just comic books. Seems like it's everything, musicians are the same way. Studios want finished products before they bring them in. And I think it's more of I don't want to say it's a test that you pass. Us as artists know we've done the same thing. We've made our own books. We've made our own art. And if you really, really want it, you're going to do a good product and take it out there. And for us to not have that in our hand and see that it's already, at that point where it's finished or something, sometimes it can signal that, somebody's not really going to finish it or interested in it as much. If they got a finished product and they bring it to you, they're on the ball already.
Right.
It's going to be a good, a good thing, good relationship. And that's one thing as a company, we not only have to find this good product, but the people that are making these books have to be people that are serious and are going to keep going with these things. We don't want them to stop with issue 2 and there's nothing else. I mean, we want these books to continue, and we want to catch a fan base that knows that we're going to deliver, products on time and, in a timely fashion. So it's, and as artists, like we know it's a hard thing because a lot of times this isn't your main job, Everybody else has a different job. So you got to squeeze it in though.
Yeah. Most of us have full-time jobs during the day. And then we have families. And then at 10 o'clock or 10:30 at night, when everybody starts going to bed, is when we start our jobs. Part 2.
Yeah, yeah.
And then weekends, I used to be traveling for comics, going to meet people for whatever, or going to a new comic shop, or just doing, metafile creation. I do everything manually, and sometimes it takes 4 or 5 hours to create one metafile, depending on how many titles and pieces of content they have and stuff like that. So I'll be in here and going in between, but making sure I'm still being a good husband and a good father. That balance is super hard. And I was saying, we had an interview last week, and I was telling the guys that you really can't do it without a supportive structure behind you.
Right.
Or that relationship is gone. Just gone. So my wife is amazing, and she's fully supportive. I mean, she doesn't usually listen to me now. Like, I'm like, I got a new day, or, hey, we signed another publisher, and she's like, that's great. It just, she's very sweet, but she knows at the end of the day that it's something that I love. I'm not making any money off of it yet, but to be able to see things start changing and people coming to me and publishers that are newer, like, wow, we actually have some page views coming through, and they know that they're all new people, is, that keeps me going every night for sure. So, I mean, what keeps you guys kind of going through that? Obviously wanting to make comics is one thing, but it can get tough. Like John said, sometimes you're just like, holy shit, I got to get this done, but I have these 2 other things and this, and like, how do you keep focused on what you have to get? Because at the end of the day, there are people that don't know that about your life, nor do they give a shit that you have stuff going on. They know that on January 17th, I am supposed to have a Kickstarter delivered, and you have a deadline. How do you balance all of your deadlines and keeping the focus and keeping the heart? Or are there just days where you're just like, F this. I need a day off. I'm done. I'll come back to it. I'll make up. But then, and do you spend the next 3 days, you get a rush, and it's like 3 days in a row, you're like, this is great, and you're just drawing like mad. Does it happen, or how do you guys work on that?
It's a balancing act for sure, but there are times when the deadline is like, that's your biggest motivator. So you're working 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours. You're staying up all night to get stuff done. Every once in a while you fall into that sweet spot where everything is just clicking and everything's moving along and the art's coming easy and the work's getting done quickly, and when you fall into that spot, you don't want to stop, and hopefully you get a few hours in working like that, but you got to be serious. If you're serious about it, you got to make and set and hit deadlines. That's,
Buckle up, get it done.
Yep. You put on your big boy pants and go to work.
Mm-hmm. You guys find the same way? Same feeling?
Yeah, I'm always in either my studio or, today at lunchtime, I took my artboards with me and I sat in the parking lot and sketched out some pages after I ate a little bit. And it gets rough sometimes, but you try to put in, the time when you can. When the whole COVID thing hit, one thing, nobody could work. Everybody had to stay home. And I say, you know what? This gives me time to catch up on, like you said, a silver lining was maybe going to be that I was going to catch up on some work. And it was just, I wasn't sitting there depressed or sad or anything, but it was just something about everything going on. I could not get anything out of myself. It was so hard to concentrate on drawing. But I'm out of the rut now, but for a good 2-3 weeks, it just seemed like nothing was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
From an illustrator's point of view, you tell people, ask what you do. You tell them you're a freelance illustrator. You do work for Star Wars or for Marvel or for whatever you do work for. And, they think that's so exciting. That's amazing. That's great. And, they hear the word freelance. They think, oh, you're just staying at home. You do nothing all day. You draw when you draw. No big deal. Well, sometimes that may be the case, but most of the time is, oh, you're spending Christmas with your family. Yeah, I spent the morning with my family, and then I went down into my studio and had to work out a deadline,
Mm-hmm.
So it is a balancing act, and you've got to have the drive to do it. From our company's point of view right now, I think the motivation is that, for lack of a better term, that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We're three successful illustrators that always make money at shows. The minute, as you were just talking about it, when you start a new company, you're not making money that first year. Mm-hmm. So we went from doing all these shows being profitable to a screeching halt where all of this money is just getting reinvested into the business. We're not bringing home any more paychecks from these conventions. Albeit that there weren't many this year, but
Mm-hmm.
It's the end game that's really driving us at this point.
Yeah, we had the same type of thing in that, especially when Diamond closed their doors. I reached out to my business partner and then the freelance woman who is creating our app, and I'm like, guys, I know that we said it'd be this date, but we need to hustle because not because it's a money thing, but because it's an industry need thing that we can help all these guys out for. And that's why, we have the emissary program right now where people can subscribe for $1. And if we get to 10,000 subscribers over the next 2 months, we'll, instead of it being a monthly subscription, we'll change everybody to a year for free. But that's because we're giving 70% of it back to you guys. We give you 70% anyway, but the whole goal is to try to, during this time when you couldn't work, we're trying to generate some sort of income to just be a bonus to get it out to everybody. And so it was, could it be great for business? Yeah, but it's not done yet, so that doesn't help. But the goal was there to try to take what money we were making, and instead of saying, oh, now we can do some marketing with it, be like, nope, we have to literally switch it and move it 2 months up and drop it in there, and now we're back to where we were. So you guys, now that you're missing part of your income, that has to be somewhat detrimental, and you must be just waiting to gear back up and get into the mix. Or again, our platform is going to help, but there's other platforms popping up as well that help with prints and stuff like that.
Right.
Is that helping, or are we really hoping to get back into the swing of things? Or is this creating a new standard where Marvel and DC, obviously they're trying new distribution models, they're trying new distributors for print. Diamond is in, God knows what they're doing. A lot of the bigger companies have put all products or all projects on hold completely. Marvel's switching to no new print and all new digital. So what do you think's going to happen next? What is the next, maybe 6 months look like? I wouldn't say 3. Obviously, COVID could come back in a massive way, like they're expecting back in September, October. But what do you think? Is there certain things that are going to change now, or is it going to go back to status quo?
I think it'll change. I think some of status quo will come back. It's definitely going to be a new environment, even still. Like, we have a new environment now, but on the other side of this, I think this has opened a lot of eyes, this situation. So I think it'll be a mixture of continuing platforms like Spinwhiz, but I think, Diamond comes back. I think other distribution channels were able to get a foothold because Diamond stepped back. Conventions, we're not exactly putting things on hold. We're using this as a time to create even more content. So that way, when we are back in the convention scene, when we are being solicited in different distribution catalogs, we have that much more product, that much more content to offer.
Yep. That's awesome. And you, John and Tony, you the same way?
Yeah.
Cranking out new content?
Yeah, definitely working on the stuff that we're working on, but it's just a chance to double down on what we've got, and I mean, us three, like Bill said before, we're 3 successful artists who make, we don't make a living, but we make revenue at the cons by, original art. We do commissions, we do stuff like that. And we're usually an artist alley, like where you met us in C2E2. But we're taking it in a new direction where we're mostly probably be at small press booths and stuff like that. So we're definitely taking a hit on our pockets to try and go forward with the company instead of us as individuals. So I think even when it does come back, it's going to be something new for us, but we're willing to take that chance and just go with the flow, and hopefully something comes good for the company, not just us, But I think the whole landscape is changing as far as the comics, comic conventions anyway. So it'll be a fresh start for us also.
Yeah. My hope is that this is going to really enlighten people as to that there's more than Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what my whole site is about anyway, is trying to get more people to really check out the fact that there is amazing content that is not in that very small box that Marvel and DC play in. And it's indie is not any better or worse than Marvel or DC. It's the stories that they can't tell.
Right.
And I think that's the best piece about it. And, I have my own comic that I haven't worked on in 7 years because it failed on Kickstarter. I had 3,000 people read it 7 years ago, failed on Kickstarter. And I'm like, well, if I have this much marketing and branding knowledge, in real world experience, and I failed, other people must be having a hard time. And it turns out that they are. So I pivoted and put that on the shelf, and it's collecting a lot of dust. And I don't feel like knocking the dust off yet, because my goal is to help make you guys successful now. So it's just that's not there yet, but eventually it will be again, right? Eventually it's kicking butt and taking names, and I can actually step back or to the side just for a minute and reboot it and bring out issue number 2. And then we have a huge community of people behind us sharing that, because that's what we're about, is the community function and introducing it to new people and stuff like that. And then everybody gets popular.
You pretty much described us in a nutshell as well. I mean, we have our own projects that we work on in-house, but we worry about our the books that we took on to publish. We worry about the creators. We worry about David Brown. We worry about Three Wise Men. We worry about Stephanie Menard. We worry about our creators, and we try to, we need to get their content out there. Mm-hmm. So it's a trickle down effect. We put our focus in the people that we sign. We don't just want their books on our table. We want to be successful at selling their books, so then they're successful. Mm-hmm. And their success is only going to bring us more success. So it's a team effort. It's a communal effort. We share resources. The way you explained it is exactly the way we view it.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about what your somebody's saying something in chat, and they said your eyes look dreamy.
My eyes look dreamy?
Mine do. Oh. I apologize. Even though it's my interview, they I think it's because I'm wearing a green shirt today, and that's what it is.
I personally found myself lost in your eyes a couple times.
They are distracting.
Normally I wear glasses, and tonight I'm just like, F it. I'm going without the glasses. These guys can handle it. And obviously I was wrong.
Yeah. Very distracting. Very distracting.
Too much man for us.
That's right. I also just noticed that we all have a different beard length. I'm in the starting phase. Bill is right after. Tony is, near the end, and then John is like, F this, I'm taking part of it down. Yeah, I don't grow a beard because my wife doesn't like it, and she's not happy. I'm not happy. So it's just easier just to shave it. But, I've got a little bit of shadow going on. So let's talk about now. We have 9 pieces of content currently up on Spinwhiz. More is coming. Let me run through them real quick just so everybody knows. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, don't think that you're not going to be able to find the links. Just look down below. And I know I'm not pointing to Tony. Tony just happens to be below me on the screen. But thank you, Tony. Much appreciated. Just look below. All the links to their content are right here. We're also going to talk about one other thing that I want to bring up. 2 other things that I want to bring up that you'll have links to as well. So don't sweat it. If you're on the podcast, you can look these guys up on spinwizcomics.com. It's just go to browse, click Rocking Studios. They all pop up. You're good to go. But right now, I'm going to start backwards. Because I want to talk about Aeonian a little bit because they have a Kickstarter coming up. But we have Undead Row, The Last Heist, Psychopath, Odd Tales from the Curio Shop, which Tony and I spoke about at length because I know the gentleman on the cover and he's fantastic. We can go into that too, Tony, just so people know who it actually is. Motor City Mo, Monkey Paw, which, by the way, was fantastic.
Yeah.
Just really, really good, because I had read a story much like that from Edgar Allan Poe years and years and years ago, back when I think I was probably like, I don't know, 9th grade, I guess is probably Poe, right? Something like that in grade school.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yep, awesome. Loved it. Modern Animals, fantastic. Gunslingers, and then Aeonian. So those are 9 titles. You can read most of the number ones right now. The other ones have promo on them, which means they have 5 pages. And all we ask at Spinwhiz is if you like it, buy it. That's it. Read it for free. If you like it, buy it. Support indie comics. That's our whole goal. But let's jump first into Aeonian. Then we're going to get into Odd Tales. And then I want to get into what you guys are specifically working on, as well as I want to get into Hollywood is Dead as well, real quick. Okay. We're kind of ticking away as the time here, but we're only 30 minutes. Come on, we got time. So let's talk about Aeonian first. Where did you pick them up? That's not one of your titles? It's your title as a publisher, but you guys didn't write that one.
No, we have a good friend. Her name is Stephanie Menard.
Mm-hmm.
She also does The Last Heist.
Oh, good.
And
she works with an artist by the name of Stan Yak, who's amazing. As you can
he's
tell from the book.
Awesome. Stan's the man.
She was one of the people, on top of, us looking for books at conventions. We're at conventions, we're looking at books, we're buying books, we're meeting people, we're networking. She's a local friend of ours, and just her drive, and if you ever talk to her, she's someone, not only do you want to, you're not thinking of investing in a project or hiring in a project, you want to invest in her.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's the case here. I mean, the books are amazing. She also does Psychopath. So she does Psychopath, she does The Last Heist, and then now she's working on Aeonian. Issues 1 and 2 are amazing, and she's going to be launching a Kickstarter for issue number 3 on June 1st.
Do you think she'd come on the show so I can interview her?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. Can one of you introduce me later?
Yeah, I could set that up. Yeah,
that'd be great, Tony.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I'd love to have her on, talk about it a little bit. We've only had 3 female creators on the show so far, and we have, I think, maybe only 5 or 6 on the site in general.
Right.
And I want more. Like the stories are just fantastic. They're different. They have a different view usually of them, of how things work. Just amazing. So I would love to meet her and have her on the show next.
If you read issue 1 of Psychopath, we've all read the stories of sexual abuse from a girl's perspective, or in issue 1, she also tells a tale of sexual abuse, but it's on a male coming from a female.
Oh, damn.
So, it's a completely different take. I mean, a female's perspective on the world is a lot different than ours. And it's amazing. It's amazing to actually see a different angle. And she's great. We talked to her. She's all in with Rocket Inc., and we're all in with Stephanie Menard.
Can't wait. Cannot wait.
So June 1st, the Kickstarter launches on issue number 3. You'll be able to find the link on our page for sure. But if you did a search for Aeonian on June 1st on Kickstarter, you will find it.
Yeah, and tag me in it so I can retweet it so anybody following Spinwhiz Comics can see it as well.
Yeah,
we
sure.
can take care of that. And if I can get her on the show around that June time frame, I'll pitch it during the show.
Cool.
So that'll drive some people for her as well. That'd be great. So that's awesome. Now, Odd Tales. Tony, do you want to give people the breakdown of this one and who's on the cover?
Well, the gentleman on the cover is the shopkeeper, and he is the curator of the curio shop. And we were lucky enough to have Brian O'Halloran, Dante from Clerks, agree to lend his likeness to the book. So he is playing our shopkeeper. He's essentially our crypt keeper.
And if you don't understand that or see that at face value, that's my fault. I'm sorry. I illustrated that cover.
It looks just like him. He actually reached out to me, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
After we promoted it. So when Tony said that Odd Tales should be number 1 to promote on Spinwhiz, and then he actually, Tony tagged Brian on a retweet. Brian got a hold of me and said, I do remember you, because he and I had met multiple times just in passing. And he's like, I do remember you. Thanks for hooking us up. I'm like, well, holy shit.
Yeah, Brian doesn't forget anybody.
The guy, I swear to God, he has a photographic memory.
Yeah.
Like, he knew where we were. And I was like, damn, dude. And he's like, which time? He's like, we've met twice. I'm like, what the hell? Really? And he was right. So it was pretty amazing. Like, I had to trigger one of them, and he knew exactly who it was, and that was it. So anyway, Odd Tales is a little bit different as well, because it is multiple tales, right? From different writers, different artists.
Right. Yeah. There are 6 different stories. Each story has its own creative team, and the shopkeeper kind of ties them all together. So the reader is the customer who comes into this oddity shop, and the shopkeeper is showing the reader these different objects, trying to sell them. And each object has a story, and those stories are the stories in the book.
Awesome. Yeah, really good too. Really excellent.
Awesome. Thank you.
So what of these have you guys done? Am I missing any that you specifically have worked on, so we can give you a shout out right here and right now?
Odd Tales. Tony did the artwork for which story?
I did. I'm
on it
All
right
the
now.
Yeah, no, I did the last one. I did Big Spoon.
Okay.
And I did the one with the old priests. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head.
Let me see. You did Shopkeeper's Introductions. You did the box written by Tony.
Right.
And then inked by John Marquin.
Illustrated by John.
Illustrated.
Pencil. Yeah. I have it penciled inked by him. And then we have you on the Black Friar, penciled by Tony.
That's it.
Yep, that's the one.
And then Big Spoon, penciled by Tony.
Right.
And then Epilogue, penciled by Tony.
Yeah, I did all the bridge pages between the stories.
Yep. And then
Also.
front cover, Bill coming in strong.
Yep.
And what else is Bill? Do you have any of your titles up right now?
So I did a lot of the artwork in Portraits of Poe. All three of us worked in Portraits of Poe.
And we don't have
Tony
that one yet.
That's not up there yet.
Not yet.
Tony and I did some work on Gunslingers.
Okay.
So that's my cover on Gunslingers as well. And then Tony and I did the spot illustrations in the back of that one.
And then Joe or John, sorry, what do you have? Are any of these yours?
We're in the process of getting his books up there.
Well, you have one that I talked to you about at C2E2, which I want you to talk about in a minute because I got to flip through it. And unfortunately, I was running. I'm still pissed I didn't buy it, but I couldn't.
But it'll be on the site in a few. We're adding a couple more pages. This one was the C2E2 exclusive. So,
of course it was. Of course I would buy it. I would. Yeah. I'd miss the one.
Which there's still a few available.
All right.
But we're changing the cover. We're doing a couple things, and then it'll be up on the site.
All right.
Yeah, you can go to the Facebook shop if you really heard about it.
Well, since it's the exclusive, and well, you guys know me. I wasn't carrying anything with me. The only thing I carried with me was a sport coat, and I looked like I was cosplaying a business player. Or a business person, and I stuck out like a sore thumb because I was walking around talking to my sport coat, and even Tony's like, "What the hell are you wearing?" And I'm like, "I'm trying to look like business." He's like, "You do," and amazingly enough, we still started talking because we're both from New York originally. Him from downstate, me from upstate, but it's still the same thing. So we're gonna get more stuff from John coming up. Do we have
you're
more?
Gonna get Mariachi.
Okay.
And Mashika.
Okay, awesome. And then are you guys working on anything individually right now or like as a group that you want to talk about that's kind of coming? Can you talk about anything or are you kind of like keeping it on the down low until you kind of get to a point where
I'm working on, you're going to be getting Gappo the Clown #1, Volume 1 shortly. Because I honestly thought I had sent it to you already. So it's a compilation of the first 700 and something strips for what was at the time a web series. I'm currently working on Volume 3 of that book. So
okay, so
hopefully that'll be out. Volume 3 will be out this year.
Okay, and you're gonna kick it or no?
It's gonna get a Kickstarter. Yeah,
okay. We'll make sure we get you back on solo for that one.
One of the incentives for that Kickstarter is going to be a drinking game. So everyone,
yes, please.
Everyone needs to take a look.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's shaking out right now. I'm kind of finalizing the gameplay, and then once I get the gameplay set, then I'll start doing all the design work for the cards.
Well, if you need testers, let me know. Happy to help beta test that, especially if I can drink Scotch whiskey or bourbon.
Drink whatever you want.
Are marvelous, even better of a game. John, what do you have coming up? What are you working on? If you can talk about it.
I'm currently working on the next few issues of Mariachi.
Okay.
Well, not currently, but we're planning them. And I'm doing another book with a friend that I committed to. So I'll be working on that the rest of the year. And but hopefully Mashika will be up on the site pretty soon.
Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then Bill, anything in the pipe?
We're working on more Odd Tales.
Okay.
Right now we're working with some licenses that we can't really talk about.
We can have you on again when you can.
Some we can. We're working with a company called the Mass Republic, and we're producing a trading card set for luchadors.
Oh,
so
Legends
are
of
you into
Lucha
wrestling
Libre
at all?
okay. You and I can talk about that offline.
Okay.
I'm not saying you can't talk more about it. I'm just saying we haven't gotten into the trading card game aspect yet, but we're being asked about it.
Right.
Might be something we want to try.
We're working on a book. I don't know if we should talk about that, actually.
We'll give that a
working on a
pause.
couple licensed books. And then me personally, I'm working on a couple Star Wars projects as an illustrator.
Actual Star Wars projects?
Yeah. That's my background, or that's how that's my little niche in all of this.
Well, holy shit! Give us some more background then.
I've been doing work for on Star Wars stuff since 2010, 2009.
Dark Horse stuff or straight for
artwork? A lot of trading card stuff. They produce trading cards through Topps.
Mm-hmm.
So all those Star Wars sets, I've done artwork for that. I've done artwork for StarWars.com, prints, stuff like licensed stuff, stuff like that.
Good for you, man.
We've all done stuff like that. I mean, but yeah.
Have you all really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What have you done, Tony?
I've done licenses with Topps. Done licensed merchandise, patches, patch designs for events. I think I did a print. I think I did a licensed print for them.
Holy crap! And John?
I've done a couple licensed card sets, but not too much. Not as much as those guys.
Oh my gosh! Have you guys done like Magic the Gathering and stuff too?
No,
I haven't worked on Magic.
I have a student who so I teach illustration here at a local college, and I have a student who just messaged me I want to say about a week and a half ago that he just got hired by Wizards of the Coast, so he'll be doing Magic work.
Gosh.
So yeah, I've done a little bit of gaming work. They put out like a Firefly deck building game.
Uh-huh.
I've done artwork for that, stuff like that, but not for actual Magic, no.
Holy cow. Like, I didn't know we had an all-star cast in front of me right now. Like, I feel like the low man on the totem pole at the moment.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I guess, well, my background is in gaming. Like, I have a decade of experience in the games industry. So it just happens that I couldn't be nerdy enough, so I had to get into comics as well. And amazingly enough, my wife is smoking hot. I still don't know how that happened, but she is. So that's really where my background is, and I work for Lenovo right now. And I'm building out their global esports presence for education. So, I mean, not anything small, but drastically different. Now, granted, with Spinwhiz, Lenovo is not a small company, and nor is the task small either. But it really does help to be able to see the end-to-end marketing, branding, and awareness platform of what I'm doing with Spinwhiz and how that decade of experience rolls into this. Do you guys find that a lot of your day experiences do help your nighttime, when you put the cape and the mask on? I'm not saying anything weird. It was more like a superhero thing. But I'm not going to judge if it is. I mean, whatever. I don't judge.
My day job is actually just doing comics. This is all I do.
Holy crap. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tony's a kept man.
I'm a kept man. I'm a kept man. It's nice.
The guy from New York now hiding in Detroit.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'll leave it there.
The witness relocation program went real well for me.
That's right. I'll just leave it there.
Nobody's going to look for an ex-mafia member in the comic book conventions,
Yeah. And usually you're in Florida anyway, so the fact they put you in Detroit is completely different.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And John, are you full-time artist as well?
No, I have my own small construction company.
Oh God, you're hustling.
Yeah, but I've had throughout my life. I've owned my own businesses. I've I've done real estate, flipped houses and stuff like that. So I'm used to being my own boss pretty much. So that experience helps me keep myself motivated.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you own your own business, you're the hardest working one, or you're
always,
so yeah, that kind of bleeds into my comic book career.
Yeah. I'm finding that a lot of how can I put this without sounding like a dick? A lot of the older gentlemen like ourselves, I mean, you guys might be younger than me, but I'm 42 now. That you're
a baby.
Well, that's the eyes. What I'm finding is that a lot of guys like us that have really lived a different life, and then at night have started this, have very much a better grasp on the entrepreneurial spirit of what it takes to really compete and excel when we really start doing what we love at night. Not that I don't like my job. I love my job, but I'm not seeing as much of that in the younger generation of especially the newer crew coming up. I see a very different hustle. And maybe that's because they don't have the business experience, but some of them, maybe it's because they haven't owned their own company yet. I don't know. There's a very different mindset.
Life really just hasn't knocked them down yet.
Yes.
They haven't experienced the hardship to make them want it more. I think that's exactly what it comes down to.
Well, I think a lot of them want it, but I don't feel like they have the entrepreneurial.
No, there's wanting it. There's wanting it. Like, I want a bowl of ice cream right now. But when you want success after knowing what it's like to fall on your face time after time after time, that's a completely different thing.
There's a lot of truth to what Tony says. We've all had life experiences, some good, some not so good. I think some of the younger up-and-comers maybe don't experience the not so good as much. And even when I'm teaching, I tell my students, they'll struggle through a project or through drawing a certain part of anatomy or something, and they'll get frustrated. And I let them know, I was like, listen, you're going to learn a lot more from making a mistake than me just telling you how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people just need to make a few more mistakes and learn from them,
and be able to work through them.
Absolutely,
not give up.
Yeah, I have a 22-year-old stepson that is damn near brilliant, and something goes wrong, and he's like, "I didn't really like it." I'm like, "Holy shit!" Like, and he doesn't want to know that. He doesn't want to think that he's brilliant. That's right. So, and I'm finding a lot of artists that are in their early 20s, and early to mid 20s, very much like that. If it's not going perfect, but some of them, I will say, they're 25 years old and they still have the strength of a 25-year-old. And those kids, and I shouldn't say kids, those young adults, frickin' hustle. And you can tell, because they're always on social media, they're making the connections, they're kind to people. Like, those guys
that's a major part of it. I mean, just being nice is half of what you need to do.
Yep. Understanding.
Nobody wants to buy your books or patronize your whatever service you have if you're a dick.
Yes.
Nobody wants to work with assholes, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. I've met a bunch.
The hustle's different nowadays, before it was all face-to-face networking, you're going out to the cons, you're meeting like-minded people. Nowadays, you can meet someone in the Philippines who's like-minded, able to do the work, scan it in, send it over. I mean, it's just a different playing field. And I'm hoping for your listeners that we don't sound like the old man yelling, "Get off my lawn!" right now.
You old stinking kids.
Because I respect some of the newer hustle. I respect some of that. Absolutely. And some of the new work coming out and different points of views and the fact of being nice. Another thing I tell my students, I'm like, look around, these people that you're sitting with, this is where networking starts.
Mm-hmm.
There could be an art director to your left, There could be a new business owner to your right. You never know who you're going to piss off, who you've shown kindness to. So just might as well just be nice to everyone. Show kindness to everyone.
Yep. And, I walk through shows, much like I went meeting you guys, and I can see the people who have been through it and get it, and the people who are, I'm like, you're either going to fail miserably or life, just because of the way they treat you. It has not. They have amazing art, great comic, but they can't carry on a conversation unless you are talking to them about their content.
Right.
And even then, they're like, well, if you're not buying, get out. Like, but I get part of that.
Right.
But it's the ability when you're at a con, the biggest piece is they want to buy a piece of you. They're more likely to purchase if they like you, if they feel like, I've met this guy, I'm definitely going to get it. That's why they pay $5 to $10 for a print with a signature on it, because they're going to go back and tell their friends, I got this, or that now it's a keepsake for them, and they're going to go bring it over to get it rated. Like, there are some people that are younger that I see hustling and doing that without the experience, and it blows my mind. But then I will walk around and I'll be like, you're a dick now. You're screwed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good your content is. If people find out that you are actually like this, you're screwed, because you're just not a nice person. And comics, while it is a digital or a physical medium to hold it, the people behind it are what extend your sales base and your fan base. And if they don't understand that, now there's some older people as well. Like I see some of the old school guys that are like, you have to like me. I've done Batman. I don't give a shit if you've done Batman. You're also an asshole. And that's why you're sitting here and you can't get another job. Like, and your social media, you have 7 followers on Twitter. Like you're not transitioning to that, but now you're a grumpy old man who thinks you're owed something, and the industry has changed.
Yeah.
So it's an odd. I mean, I see them all across. Now, people might meet me and be like, "You're an asshole." I don't think so, but it's possible. And after this interview, they might definitely think so. But I would say that 99% of the people that are in our industry right now, young, older, like us, and then like old school, 99% know how to be polite and kind and listen. 99% of people that I have met. But it's the 1% that sticks out because they just don't get it. And I'm like, your content is so good, but you're such an ass. Like, I don't want to work with you. I don't want you on the site because you will piss somebody else off. And then it hurts my brand that I'm trying to build, and it hurts the other 70 publishers that are on the site because they're going to talk shit about you. And I need to lock that down. Do you see that too? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did a panel. Was it last year, I believe, at C2E2, me and my partner who we co-created and did the Mariachi series, 2 books. And we had a panel, it was Hispanics in comics. And we had a packed room at C2E2. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. And it was Saturday, and it was the last panel. Well, it was by the time the panel was done, the show was closed. So Sunday morning came, and everybody from the panel, it seemed, came all day Sunday and bought everything from us because we stayed in it. They had to kick us out of the room. We were taking questions. We were talking to everybody in the audience. And I mean, we left and they were stopping us in the hallways and still asking us questions and still just so much into, what we were talking about. But it's right. Like you said, when they're buying a piece of you, mm-hmm. If they connect with you, and most of those people just went to the panel because of the name Hispanics in Comics, and it was a lot of Hispanics. But once they met us, and we were joking up there, we were answering all their questions, and we gave them a piece of our life and our story. I mean, they came and they just sucked all our merchandise up the next day. It was great. I mean, and that's one of those things. You give them a piece of you that's authentic, and you're kind, and you listen. And they see that and mm-hmm. they feed us. And, it's happened to me when I was younger and I used to go to the cons, and you walk up to somebody's table and they're nice and they start talking to you. You might not like too much what's on their table, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to buy something for this guy because he's pretty cool.
Yep. That's how I look at who I want to work with. Tony and I started talking, and then you and I, actually John and I started talking first.
Yeah.
And then Tony and I started picking up when the three of us just started shooting it. And I knew automatically that I wanted to work with you. The content I already knew was good because I had flipped through it. But then I met you guys, and I'm like, I want to work with these guys because they're the type of people I want to be associated with. And there have been a couple people on the site that say something not good, or they give me some shit. And I'm like, listen, if you're this way with me behind closed doors, what do you like in public? Like, and I've had to release them from being a publisher on the site because I already know if you're treating me like that and I'm trying to help you, what are you doing to others? And I'm just like, that's not going to work. So,
and then, and people have to understand, you have to protect your brand. I mean, it's similar to us, how, when we're looking for people who we're going to publish, we want to publish quality work by good people. You're got to protect your brand. You have to have quality representation, on your site. Otherwise, you could everything could flush down the toilet in a heartbeat.
Yeah, definitely right. And there's people that I've met that are in the industry are kind of those people that, how can I say this? They stir it up on social media.
Yeah.
But when I meet them, they will come out and say, "Oh, I do that for the buzz." Like, they're not actually like that. And it comes down to also the fact of, like, listen, we were speaking beforehand about politics. And there might be that 50-50 split of if you're Democrat or Republican or whatever, and you don't like one or the other. Well, the good thing is on my site, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. You don't have to read the content if you don't want to. As long as you are not going out and blasting somebody for, their race or their religion or their creed or who they love, you start getting into that. You have taken your brand out of professionalism and brought it into personalization, and then that bothers me. You keep yourself on yourself. You could say whatever the hell you want. If people don't want to read your content, that's up to them, and I'll keep you on the site. But the minute you include me in your personal life, we've got problems, and that's when we have to have a chat, because you are bleeding into personal into professional, and that's not okay. So luckily I've nipped it in the bud before it's had to happen, so not really a big deal. And we don't have to worry about it here. I mean, three guys from Detroit, we're fine. So we're over an hour. I told you this would happen. But let's give Matt some love about Hollywood is Dead. You want to give me a quick update on that, and I'm going to drop the link in?
Okay, so a couple years ago, we put out Hollywood is Dead trading card set. It's my buddy Matt Bush. He is a famed Star Wars artist himself, and he came up with the idea of taking these iconic movie posters that everyone is so familiar with, movie posters like that, and zombifying them. So he went through and just killed Hollywood. And he did a print run, and he has a coffee table book you can probably get at his website, mattbush.com. And we said, you know what? This needs to be a trading card. And we did a set of trading cards with sketch cards, which were the funnest thing to do. Sketch cards are original pieces of art that are randomly inserted in the packs of cards.
Yep.
And so I sat there, and I'm like, I'm just going to do a subset here and do SNL alumni.
Fantastic.
That made it into movies. And I had so much fun with that. The set was beyond successful. To this day, we have a little display of some of the cards, and people always stop and start laughing and start pointing out different movies, and it just gets such a buzz out of them. So he had so many that we have to do a second set. So
awesome.
We're going to be doing a second set. You might want to look for a Kickstarter around, I don't know, Halloween-ish, tie-in with that.
See you back on the show around Halloween-ish?
Yeah, hey, that sounds good.
Got it.
And So we're gonna do the rest of the cards, some more sketch card goodness. I don't know what I'm gonna choose as my theme on sketch cards for this set, but I'm sure I'll think of something. But Matt's a great guy to work with. To go back to what you were saying about meeting certain people and whether they're good people or just jerks. When you go to Matt's booth at any type of convention, he always has the time to talk to you. People love him, and they get invested in his work, and we're happy to work with him.
And then he probably sells a buttload of stuff because of that.
Oh my God, yes.
A metric butt ton.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's obviously the professional nomenclature of that is a professional, a mega butt ton. What was it? Mega butt ton?
Metric butt ton.
Metric butt ton. Mm-hmm. Yep. You heard it here first, folks. TM. So we have to, again, we're over an hour. I told you this would happen. We start just chatting it up, and, like-minded people normally do that just because we have so many cool things to talk about. And you guys have so many cool stories.
It's the eyes. We can just,
we don't want to end it. We want to just keep staring at your dreamy eyes.
I'll take a picture and send it to you, although then that would be weird. On me. That'd be weird on me that I did that. My wife would be like, who are you sending pictures of yourself to? The guys I was talking to earlier. So I wanted a couple notes from in the stream. HVAC says that the props to Homies, Clerks, and Chasing Amy poster, much wow. So you got some love in there. And he also says, can confirm Hollywood is Dead is awesome. He also is down for the drinking game.
Awesome.
Yes.
And you got some other love about drinking. I think drinking games is kind of the thing. And maybe.
Well, Gappa the Clown is a degenerate of a clown, and I think you see him more often with a drink in his hand than without. So
it's it's definitely the thing he does best.
Nothing wrong with. I mean, you got to be good at something.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Can we do a live play test on Zoom?
I think we probably could. You'll
just have to take our word on when you have to drink.
That's going to be a problem. And considering I don't drink much beer, I mean, I will twist my arm.
Well,
but
the idea behind the game is everybody drinks what they, you drink what you drink. It's a drinking game. It's not a beer drinking game or a vodka drinking game. It's a drinking game.
Well, my worry is that some drinking games are like finish your drink, and if I'm pouring heavy that night,
there'll be some of that. The idea is to get you drunk.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I can turn my liver on again for another night. It was a little rough back in the college days, but you know what? I think there's a song about that, right? By Toby Keith. I'm as young now once as I ever was.
Right. I'm as good as I once was.
Yeah. I think that might be mine if we do that.
You guys lost me at country. Sorry.
And I have to really.
It's country music, Bill. You would know nothing about it.
I don't know anything about it.
All right. Anything else before we want to log off? Anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, make sure you're reading the books on Spinwhiz and supporting our creators.
Got that. Support those creators, man. Like I said, if you read the content, if you like it, buy it. It's usually $1 or $2. It's not a lot. We have print on demand, then you can have the print. And then when you see these guys at a show, bring the print with you, have them sign it. I guarantee I have not met a creator yet that does not love the fact that somebody has bought their print and they bring it to them to sign at a show.
You're not going to find a group of folks at a show that are going to be more bubbly than us, ready to sign your print, ready to sign your book, at least direct creators at the show. But also you can follow us on social media. We're Rocketing Studios on all of social media outlets.
Sure are.
All media platforms.
Yep, you sure are. And John, I think I'm going to order that exclusive from you only to make sure that I'm coming back to meet you at the next event so that you can sign it. Because why wouldn't I have just had it right then and there when I actually had a brief, a case with me?
There you go.
Hindsight's 2020. Ain't that a bitch? So now I got to pay for shipping and all that other stuff too.
I'll personalize it.
Ooh, that is nice.
Fancy.
All right, you do
personal sketch in there for you.
Ooh, you do get a picture of my eyes then. All right, guys, you've been wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Hang out with me just for a second so I can log off real quick with these guys and get these guys ready. We're going to be playing Call of Duty with Fatty B and Gorilla Mosque. But hang out here just for a minute. I'm going to say goodbye to these guys. We'll be right back. Thank you again to Rocket Ink Studios. They're amazing. Check out that content on the site. The links are below if you're on YouTube. You can find them on spinwhizcomics.com, and there's a whole bunch of content and more coming, so stay tuned. I will be right back. Give me just 1 second, all you fine people. I'll be right back.